now. All right. Hello, and welcome to the Service Table Podcast, episode 4, the Nama Rupa, the mind and the body connection. What's up, guys? How you doing? Trung and Heng, our two co-hosts. What's up? I'm Lloyd. What's going on, guys?
Hey, I'm Trung. I'm doing great, guys. Can't wait to go into deeper what this mind is and this body that is Nama and Rupa.
Nice. I'm Heng, and yeah, Nama Rupa. That's where we are, somewhat ish.
That's what we have.
Nama Rupa. Today's episode is brought to you by Mushroom Coffee. I don't know if you guys drink it.
And
coconut water.
Starbucks.
Nice. Coconut water. All right.
Yeah, we're kind of what's the word? Bougie.
Of the bourgeoisie. Bougie.
What's that?
No, but you gotta get those electrolytes though, man, right? It's like important.
I was doing so I started doing the Upasada days. So like yesterday was an Upasada days. Those are like days where people will go and practice 8 precepts, like the layman's. So but the crazy thing was I already planned this Disney trip with some friends. So that was like interesting. It's like, all right, trying to do 8 precepts, but also you're on a roller coaster and you're trying to like not be dwelling in the sensual pleasure of like, oh wow, this is
a roller happiness.
Coaster. So yeah, that's breaking my fast with some coconut water.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you say you drinking coffee, Trung? What kind of coffee is that?
Yeah, I'm currently dehydrating. No, I had a coffee with a buddy of mine before this, so I just came back, you know. Nice. But yeah, this Nama Rupa. So those 2 words are Pali words. Nama meaning the mind, or translated to the mind, and Rupa as the body. So obviously we all have this mind and body in samsara, they say.
Right. But hold on, wait. Pali is the language spoken in the time of Gautama, right? It's like Northern Indian language.
Yeah, Gautama Buddha, yeah.
So all this stuff, just to give some clarification, like when people hear us say these terms, they're all like language, right? It's like a language from back in the day. But yeah, it's okay. So you're saying samsara, excuse me, didn't have to interrupt.
No, so we're discussing Nama Rupa, and I know it's mentioned a lot in the Satipatthana. It's mentioned a lot, for example, in the course, in the discourses and stuff, because we have a mind and body. That's why we have sensation. That's really what we're talking about, right, today. So you guys can chime in on it, but that's kind of my understanding about Nama Rupa is. Yeah, they exist so that we have sensation.
Yeah.
Well, going off the sensation, it's kind of why we even practice it the way we do, because we sense it in our mind and we sense it in our body. We have sensations at both levels, and I mean, going off the Satipatthana, that's like the most direct experience that any being can have. Is through sensation. So it's a really great tool for us to do what we do and experience what we experience. The anicca, the changing nature of everything.
I mean, it's like basically what binds us to this reality, right? It's like
the what? Instead of who?
I was just thinking that's what binds us to this reality is the mind and the body. Is
this physical reality, yeah.
Yeah.
The mind, I mean, in the Satipatthana, they talk about, the anapana, observing I think the first part was observing the breath, right? Anapana something, and then chitta mayapanya, right? Like there's the 2, right? If I can't remember correctly now, but one is obviously, so the mind is always the one that's translating or perceiving and creating this understanding of if we like it or if we don't like it. So whether it's body sensation, it gets translated by the mind. So they have a direct, I mean, they work together in the sense. Like they have to work together. You can't have one without the other in the sense to experience this current reality. Did that make sense?
Yeah.
No, for sure. Like you're talking about sati, right? Or the satipatthana, which is just for our audience, it's like it's actually the text that this like a meditation practice comes out of, right? It's just observation of different elements, right? So at one point, the first one is the body in the body, right? The kaya nupassana, observing the body within the body. So that's like how would you like? That's what we do, right? We close our eyes and observe the body, observe the sensation of the breath. That's the body connection, right? Like,
Yeah.
and then
actually,
the mind is the other part. It's like mind and mind, chitta nupassana, kaya nupassana.
This is pretty deep. Like I don't remember everything. That's what I'm saying.
This four, right? Is mind and mind, body and body, sensation and sensation, phenomena and phenomena.
Oh yeah.
Right. So
Dhammanupassana.
Dhammanupassana. Yeah.
Vedana.
So just for our audience for clarification.
Uh-oh. Is that me? Trung, are you here?
I'm still here.
Oh, okay.
I think Lloyd is
all right.
stuttering or not. He's frozen, let's say. It's too deep. The episode's like, yo. Now, Nama Rupa, I mean, it's pretty deep conversation because, yeah, it's so Nama Rupa. I mean, maybe Lloyd is still talking and it's recording. I don't know, but no, he's definitely frozen. So I'm just gonna say this thing about Nama Rupa. So as we meditate, right, Nama and Rupa become more clear. So if you think about it, right, you're meditating on, let's say the natural breath, right? So when we're doing Anapana, like what is the experience? So during Anapana, we may be able to see the mind more clearer because we can see that the mind may not affect us as much as we think because we can observe thoughts coming and going, and maybe we also observe that there's less thoughts now or no thoughts or whatever, right? Like we can see the mind, let's say, a little bit more clear in the sense of awareness of it when we are meditating, let's say. So, and then the thing with the body, we can also observe the body. Oh, wow, this natural breath, the body is breathing on its own without our intention to breathe. Like I'm just watching this body breathe, and that is understanding, let's say, this body also, right? So, and it goes deeper in my opinion, and I don't know how deep we should go in the conversation of Nama and Rupa, but in the end, meditation brings forth the understanding of the ultimate truth. And the ultimate truth, maybe we should have done one on ultimate truth, and the ultimate truth, for example, in this case would be, I mean, I'm going on and on, like it goes deep. And that's why I'm like, I mean, when I was thinking about what we were talking about, I was like, wow, this is going to be a long, long podcast. But once we observe the body, right, then we also understand that this body is not ours because we're not controlling it. And that is part of the ultimate truth for non-self, which is anatta. So anyways, all these things that we're doing during meditation come back to Nama and Rupa, but it's to explain to us or have a direct experience of the ultimate truth. And again, it could go on and on and on, but I'm gonna keep it at that and see what Lloyd says when he comes back.
Yeah,
But
I
what
mean,
do you-
you're still recording, right?
yeah, on Google Meet.
Well, I think to go back into at least the practical aspect, like, because we're just going deep into theory. We, like the mind and mind, body and body, sensation and sensation, mental containment or mental content and mental content. It's like, what does that really mean in the practical level? So at least for me, I realized that, like, what's all this confusion, like, or like, what's all this high, like, what are they really trying to say? Because I was like, body and body, okay, like, cool, when I first heard it. And once I started to practice it, like, I mean, of course, this is the Satipatthana course, so it gets pretty deep, but it actually just helps you. At least for me, it really helps me. Okay, well, if I'm experiencing this mind, or I'm experiencing this body, or I'm experiencing sensation or mental content, where should I experience it?
Where?
Yeah, because if you experience body sensations, but you experience it at the mind level, as opposed to, and when I say the mind level, as in terms of thoughts. So, oh, Lloyd's back.
Yeah, trying to. Give me 1 second here.
Keep going, Heng.
Yeah, well, yeah. So at the mind level, I don't know how much Lloyd is grabbing any of this, but yeah. So like basically saying like, okay, when these four parts of the Satipatthana, when you experience them, where should you experience them? And mind for me is like, okay, if you're experiencing the mind, the thoughts, they should be experienced as such in the place of where the thoughts live. Or if you're experiencing the sensations, you should experience the sensation and where the sensation lives, which is on the body, it's at the physical level. Mental content, same thing. The body, same thing. So it's not, you're not intellectualizing it. Wherever it is, you're experiencing as it is, and not as like, okay,
To be.
yeah, or just even like confusion, like in your mind, like, am I really doing what I'm supposed to be doing? And I think having that experience at that as it is level, that's like the core practice of, I think that's the core practice of why Vipassana is just the most, at least to me, the most sound way to practice, because it's like you can do this anywhere, anytime, and anybody. Well, we can get to the anybody.
Well, you need a mind and body to practice it. That's the thing.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a few beings that are not able to practice, or at least yet. But then it just goes to the anicca, like, who are we? What are we? Are we this mind? Are we this body? Because we're not gonna be this mind and body forever. So that can segue into a few other different things.
Yeah, I feel like that's a question that comes up a lot too. It's like, what is real? Is it real?
Yeah. Just to catch you up real quick, we're just talking about how the mind and body are interrelated, and how meditation allows you to see the mind and the body more clearly, as in how it may communicate with each other or not communicate with each other. Like, when you observe the natural breath and you're not trying to breathe, but it's breathing on its own. And then also, like, yeah, so we're just talking about that, so you know.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that was weird. A little glitch in the matrix there.
Coffee
Yeah,
overload.
It's a good topic, because like I feel like sometimes when you'll be to feel a sensation in the body, and then it'll bring up like a memory, right? Or like, like that's like how smells trigger memory, right? Like it's a sensation in one place that triggers something else in the mind. Like that's like the mind body connection, right? For part of it. That's
Well,
what I say.
I think we try to make sense of the sensation, right? So like it's kind of like if I'm feeling sad suddenly, I'm trying to figure out, like my mind is trying to figure out what is the sadness coming from, and then maybe something comes up from the past, right? Like, oh, that one time I felt like this, it was also in this moment from my past, and then you trigger maybe that memory because it's kind of like the same feeling, let's say. And like you said, then you have this memory. Oh yeah, I felt sad when this happened. Or maybe you had not wanting to feel it, but then now when you're meditating, you feel it and you realize, oh, this was a moment of sadness that I maybe not have been able to, let's say, fully process or something. So,
Right.
yeah.
Now, I've definitely heard people describe things like you said, like with processing, like they'll like process something in a sit, and then they will no longer have that pain in that part of their body or something like that too. Like I've heard people say stuff like that.
Oh yeah. I've heard people say like, oh, my first 10 days sit, suddenly this pain that I had just was gone, like forever. This is like 5 years ago. And I was like, really? Like, yeah. And this is why I believe this works for me, because they feel like they healed in some way, right? And and just to chime in a little bit more, we're doing this practice. It may seem like we're doing it to heal. I mean, this is like kind of like the result that might come out of meditation, but it definitely is not the goal of meditation. It's like, oh, we're gonna go meditate so we can heal our traumas or our physical pain. Maybe like, that's your body keeps the score kind of stuff. Because again, and I'm just saying this because I've been more mindful about this thing where, oh yeah, I'm just doing this to become more myself, right? It's not about, like, the healing happens on its own. Like, I don't need to focus on it, let's say.
Right, not the objective. But
yeah, and this is my opinion, obviously. And I've talked about this at the service table all the time to other people about, because everybody's like, oh, I do this so I can feel happier, or because, at home I'm feeling very negative, and like this helps me be grounded. And for sure it does, like it does help you become a little bit more calm, right? Or whatever these things that you think they do for you, like being happier. But in the end of the day, it's beyond that, feeling like you're healing, or these things, like you're becoming a better person or something like that. And it's weird to say it because that's what happens, but again, it's not like the focus of doing Vipassana, right? Like it's more of understanding reality as it is, because as the better we understand it, all these other things fall off, and we naturally or organically, I don't want to say heal, but yeah.
I mean, I definitely think healing is part of the process.
Well, yeah,
right?
it's part of it.
It happens along the path. Like again, like that may be the reason that somebody approaches the path, is because they're looking for some kind of catharsis or healing or whatever. So that is the reason that they start. By all means, let them. I would encourage that as well. But I agree with you that that's not the goal per se. And really having a goal is also not really what it's about either. So I don't know.
Yeah.
The place of no goals. I mean, yeah, we're there. The whole practice is to get to this experience beyond the mind and the matter, to let the mind and the matter exhaust itself. So we're just not adding fuel to the fire. So it's a little, yeah. So
It's like what Lloyd said, though. We're all at a certain place where we need a certain thing, and if we think that right now helps us heal something, and we continue to do it for that reason, I don't think it's also not a bad thing, But it's good to, I mean, at some point you'll know that, oh, there's more than just healing to this thing, like it goes beyond that, because when we do see it more in a way of reality as it is, those heal, like you know, like we think there's something wrong with us, right? But the truth is there's nothing wrong with us. We just think there's something wrong with us because we're holding on to these things that is the past. So with seeing reality as it is, the past kind of falls off because it's not reality. The only thing that's real is the present moment, because all our memory is created in our mind, how we want it to be at that moment in time, right? And whether it's good or bad, in the end, we are who we are right now. And that present moment and that reality should be able to help you be yourself and not hold on to these things, let's say. Like, that's my opinion. Obviously, I'm not at that point or anything, but I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to say about it's not about healing, because when you really understand the present moment, there's nothing wrong with us. You know, we're already there. We just don't want to believe it yet. And we're working our way, this whole Nama Rupa, like, because we still feel and we still don't understand impermanence that well, right? And all those, the ultimate truths. So we're holding on to these things. And this is because we have a mind and body. If we didn't have a mind and body, there's nothing to hold on to. We wouldn't be able to talk. We wouldn't be able to feel things. We wouldn't be able to think things, what this means. So yeah, Nama Rupa is an interesting one. And I'm surprised we're talking about it, actually. Because
Yeah,
it's super deep.
it's a good one though.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I mean, we can get deep though. Go ahead.
Yeah, like there's even like this conversation we have. It's somewhat it's like pariyati, you know, the intellectual aspect of Dhamma. So it's a little food for the mind. And then when we do patipati, the actual practice, it's food for the body and the mind. It's both. So it's just one full circle. And having that, I think what we're doing right now is great because we have that support for each other. You know, especially if someone falls off the path or even feels like they're falling off the path, because it's, you know, it's all part of the journey. This is to keep us accountable, but really it's just to support each other. So
Yeah.
thank you for your Nama and your Rupas for being here today.
No doubt.
That's
It's
right.
the Sangha, man. The Sangha is very helpful.
Yeah.
I think we can get deep though, because like mental plane of existence, physical plane, because like in a sense, like, and even when you look at like even like Christianity and stuff like that, they talk about different, you know, the mind and the speech and how those things like create, right? So like the mind precedes action a lot of times, right? So the thought precedes the action, right? It could be said. So like, I'm trying to word this well. The mind has a certain element of control over the physical, right? And then vice versa, right? So when you're hungry, it's going to affect your mind to where you're whatever. But then if you give the mind enough time, it will take over the hunger, right? Where it can have agency and do what, you know what I mean? So I'm just trying to express the relationship between mind and body as different like levels of self-control and levels of existence. Because like if you feed the body well, right? If we're eating the right foods and we're not, you know, taking intoxicants in and things like that, then the mind is clearer. But if the body is not in that state, you can also use the mind to take agency over the body. So that's an interesting relationship between mind and body too.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you could do special breathing techniques to help the mind calm down. Like this is what you're kind of saying, right? Like you can use the physical to activate or to help the mental state in terms of, let's say, or like theoretically, for example, yoga, right? The physical is supposed to help you get into the place where your body is calmer so you can have the mind calm down and meditate. So kind of what you're saying, this relationship of mind and body and how it affects each other if we wanted to, in the best way we wanted to, let's say.
Definitely. And even to take that a step further, like you said, using the breath to control the mind, but it's the mind which will set the pace for the breath, right? Or could, if you're
the intention of the mind.
Yeah.
We could talk a little bit more about the mind, because sometimes, at least I used to think the mind was like my enemy, because it's got the thoughts and all this stuff. But the reality, the mind is never your enemy. It's helping us make this podcast come alive, right? It's helping us, get to the point where we want to go maybe to a 10-day course, right? Like the mind is actually, the conditioned mind is the one that's actually, let's say, working, I don't want to say against us, but it doesn't know better. So it's just doing this thing it's programmed to do, right? For us to feel safe or whatever. So yeah, the mind it's an interesting thing, because we also condition it in a healthy way. But in the end, it's still conditioning. And I kind of had that feeling when you were telling me about, the book Atomic Habits, right? Like that could be very healthy, right? Like you're doing all these things to help yourself. But I think that's good to a certain extent. But in the end, you're also just reprogramming yourself maybe to be more positive, let's say. And I think they call that, like, I've heard it as like the golden chains. Like these chains that are still about desire and like, oh, I'm not good enough. I gotta still make better habits and be a better person. And those things are still this other sense of desire that can hold you back from understanding reality, because maybe you're good enough and maybe we don't need I'm not saying we do or we don't, because again, it's just our path, right? And we're learning from it.
No,
but
for sure.
Please tell me more, Lloyd. I mean,
no. I'm just thinking, because that makes me think about the highest level, right? At the highest level, you were talking about desire and this thing. If you reach that point where you've eliminated desire and you have no attachment to the physical nature things in this world, right? At some point, unless you're going to like become a monk and like just sit down and just be about nothing else but reaching enlightenment, then you have to choose. You will inevitably choose your attachments and desires, right? So that is one fundamental choice. Either I'm going to sit here and go and seek enlightenment and nothing else, or I'm going to be bound to my friends, my family, this world, my career, But then you have the ability at that point to actively choose each of those things, and that's where the mind comes in, and the body as well, because the body will make choices sometimes for you, but you want the mind, through the practice of meditation, to have the most agency over those things. Mm-hmm. Or that's the goal. That's the goal.
So even seeking enlightenment supposedly is not a healthy thing, possibly, right? Because it depends how I'm not saying it's so. Yeah, this is where the golden chains come in. And like, it's literally like you might be pushing yourself so hard to become enlightened, like by sitting every day or being a serious student, whatever you want to call it. But that could be just your source of suffering. And this is where I was listening to some YouTube thing about emptiness. And this is something that I know Zen talks about a lot. And I'm starting to understand it a little bit more. But like, emptiness is not about trying to attain anything, and it's actually just being present in the sense. And I don't want to talk too much about it because maybe it's drawn away from what we want to talk about today, but
no, let it flow, man. Let them thoughts ride.
Okay. Yeah, like emptiness is deep. It's really like, and let me talk about the mind and body thing, because it's like you said, the reality is we have a mind and body. This is our reality, like our current reality. And I think the complicated part is about knowing that there's more than this reality, let's say, right? That's the ultimate truth, meaning our existence doesn't matter that much, because it's just a flicker in this big universe, or whatever you want to call it. Like, it's just an on and off switch kind of thing.
Yeah. Just a little bit of clarification there, right? Like, the ultimate reality versus the apparent reality or the perceived reality. The ultimate reality is supposed to be like quantum level kalapas and small particles, right? So yeah. So I'm sorry, I just wanted to add a little bit of clarity.
They also call it the conventional truth versus the ultimate truth, or the mundane versus the super mundane. There's a bunch of ways I think they word it, and yeah, it's I mean, I still don't understand everything. I'm just talking out loud, and you guys can chime in anytime. The one thing I guess I still want to add in is like this thing about desire, right? Like there's this desire that's like survival. Like if we're hungry, like you were talking about, I mean, you got to eat. Your body needs to eat. If you don't eat, you'll die eventually, right? Like this is just a fact. So there's a desire that is actually a necessity, like drinking water, breathing. Those are all necessities. If we don't, there has to be a desire for that, because if we don't, we would not be able to practice meditation, let's say. And then there's, of course, desires. And I don't want to say, I think at some point the desire is going to change in the sense of like, oh, you're hungry, but you're not hangry anymore. You're just hungry, and you can be, let's say, calm with this hunger, and then you'll eat at some point. Versus like hangry, where you're like, oh, I got to eat now, or, you know, I'm going to go crazy. So I think it does change this understanding of feeling or desire between the mind and body. But there's nothing wrong with those kind of natural desires, because this is just what happens when you have a mind and body, or when you have a body, let's say. Like this body needs that so it can keep going. Like this is the reality. This is conventional reality, you know, like this is the truth for us. And but yeah, I actually don't know where I was going with this. I just remembered that this is something I wanted to say.
That's what's up. That's how it goes. Yeah, the mind and body. So like the body can be. So okay, just talk about conventional reality and because the conventional reality is essentially the body, right? It's like
Mind and body. Yep.
Mind and body. It's like what we can perceive, what we can feel, what we know. Like they make that example of like the wall is solid, right? But it's only because we perceive it as such. If it was the ultimate truth of this wall is that it's small particles, and if you were Neo in the Matrix, you could push right through this wall, right? And that's where like
it's the same thing with if a tree falls and nobody is there to hear it fall, did it fall? Like it's kind of like that saying too, right? Like it's only when we can sense it in some way, like see it, hear it, taste it, feel it, and then perceive it. If we don't have those things, then did it really happen? And this is kind of what the thing about mind and body is. If we didn't have one or the other, nothing would be real, because we're in this reality, conventional reality or mundane. This is what we use to understand everything around us, interact with each other, you know, learn from each other. All that stuff is because we have a mind and body. So yeah.
Oh yeah, the getting even to the four parts of the mind. Now that's that's yeah, because you mentioned perceiving. It's and perception. Well, I think probably more of the cognition part. So the four parts of the mind really helps us understand why our mind does what it does, and why it wants to sometimes go crazy or sometimes be a friend.
Enlighten us.
Yeah. So the cognition, which is just the vijnana in the Pali term, ancient language back in India, is just, we're just, okay, light comes, we see light, the brightness, we see the colors, the shapes, the form. Then we go into the sanya, the perception, and we notice, okay, this is green, this is large, this is small. And then a part of our mind is like figuring out, and this is the part. So with sanya, with perception and sensations, because in
Wait,
some
can you just tell
texts,
us the four parts? Just tell us the four parts really quickly, because
yeah, for sure. So yeah, the other parts is Vedana, which is sensations, and that's, you know, the physical sensation that happens, or even the mental sensations that happen, the mental feeling that you get. And then the fourth one is the reaction, sankharas.
okay.
So yeah, like this was something my dad actually was like, because you know the Goenka tradition is like, okay, cognition creates the perception, the sanya, and it's like, okay, sanya says it's good or bad, and then sensation starts, pleasant or unpleasant sensation, and then the sankhara, the reaction, comes into play.
Okay, so
It's
break that. Give me an example. Can you break that down, like from like, let's say, you know, I prick my finger. Can you break down how that goes through that mental process? Like,
yeah. Okay, pricking the finger, it's, well, we cognize it. It's like, boom, we notice there's a something happening.
Body
What I
sensation.
meant was that?
I said body sensation. Like
Yeah,
you
yeah.
feel something within your body.
Yeah, we feel it prickling, and then it's like the sanya says it's like, okay, this is either a good thing or a bad thing, and it gives us a pleasant or unpleasant sensation. And prickling, you know, most likely unpleasant sensation, unless you have some type of mental, different mental capacities.
right, a little bit of masochism there.
Do you mind if I try to explain it real quick?
Sure, go ahead.
So the first part is cognizing, right? Oh, something happened on my hand, on my body, right? You feel it. And then the second part is perception. Oh, I have a prickly feeling on my fingertip or whatever it is. And then the third is sensation. Oh, this is hurting me, you know? I mean, yeah, this is hurting me, or I like it, right? Like either you like this prickly feeling or you don't. So either it's hurting you or you enjoy it. And then the reaction happens, whether it's like, oh my God, I need to, you know, shake off this bee that just bit me, or who knows, the reaction is going to be something. But that's kind of like how it works in terms of the mind. And then the body reacts, or the mind reacts and tells the body to react. Like, oh, I'm not safe. I'm in danger. I got to run now. Or I'm fine. I can just sit here and watch this prickling happen. But yeah.
So
I don't know.
yeah, no, for sure. I was trying to get back to the perception and the sensation part. And in some tradition, it's like, not even like, if you look at the text, it's actually cognition, sensation, perception, sankhara. So it's like flipped.
Hold
So
on with this sensation. Yeah, Vedana, and then perception, then react. Yeah, that sounds right to me.
no, well,
Go ahead, Heng, break it down. Break it
explains
down. I want break it down.
Yeah, when Goenka explains it though, it's like cognition, then perception, then sensation, then sankhara or reaction. So this is where a lot of
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So there's like a lot of or at least, yeah, if you look at the text versus, because sometimes Goenka, he teaches in a way, even like anicca, anatta's, dukkha, it's like that order. Sometimes the order is different, including the paramis, the nekama. Usually nekama is first, but or dana is first, but he has nekama as first, which is, instead of donations, kindness as first, volition. Instead, he has the renunciation as first. So it's like there's a system for the way he does it, but essentially, I think, so going back to the mind and the perception, it's because sometimes, especially when you're like fresh, you're just new to everything, you don't know if the mind is, you don't know if this is a good thing or not. So the perception, the sanya, doesn't know how to judge it until that sensation happens first, pleasant, unpleasant. Oh, then it's like the sanya comes. So it's like it all culminates into one and then creates a sankhara. But it's like breaking that down. It's like, okay, it really could be, like if you see something for the first time, you don't know if it's pleasant or unpleasant. You just gotta like experience it first physically or sensationally. And then it's like, oh, wow, this is great. Or, oh, no, get away from me, Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So
yeah,
okay,
the order
just to make sure
really...
I understand this clearly, right? So the first thing that happens is I'm thinking, cognition, right? Like, so something happens and I'm thinking about it, then I perceive it. Is that what you're saying? So like there's a loud noise, I hear it, and then I perceive it. Is that what you're saying? And then I'm like, that was good or bad, right?
Yeah, it's like, I mean, also,
and then I react, right? So like, so let me just make sure, like let's say someone drops a pan in the kitchen, right? First I hear this noise, right? And then I say that was good or bad. Then I develop, or then I perceive it, and then I say it was good or bad.
yeah. I mean, the way that Goenka Ji teaches is, it's like we hear the noise, that's just cognizing, like, boom, it's happening, and then recognizing, what is that? Is that a noise? Is that high pitch, low pitch? And then a part of the mind, a part of that perception, high pitch, low pitch, is also like telling us whether it's good or bad. Okay. So the sensation, like even the pleasant or unpleasant sensation, it's like it culminates there. It's like wrapping its claws around each other and being really good friends.
And then we start running because it was a loud noise. That's the reaction.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's, it can get it might, and this goes back to the mundane versus super mundane. Like, we're not really experiencing this, but the whole path is to go from the understanding the mundane, of course, always, but also to go deeper and finding that ultimate truth. So
would that be winding it backwards? Like, okay, so the noise happens, but I don't react, right? I don't react and I don't perceive it as good or bad, right? Would you say that's like is that what we're doing, trying to unwind that?
Yeah, in a way, but it's like a hard drive. It's kind of hard to just delete everything. Even if you delete a hard drive, there's always going to be the quote unquote space. So there's still going to be something there. And for this practice, the way that we fill in this space is, instead of having the perception as good or bad, pleasant or unpleasant, the perception is just that it's anicca, that it's changing. So that's our way of rewriting the code, rewriting the hard drive, is that, and experiencing it so that we can download this data. And then back to atomic habits. This is the new habit that we're building, getting to the anicca, experiencing that.
Like understanding and experiencing the truth that sound will pass, right? The anicca, the change.
Yeah. Or I mean, or even the physical sensation that happens on our body because of this sound. Like, maybe we get an eerie feeling depending on the sound, or we get an elated feeling, or we might be, if it's like a beat, we might be, moving to the beat a little bit.
Yeah.
And the beat goes away.
Like that toe starts tapping, like, that's a sensation. Okay.
So we're just allowing nature to do its part, and just letting the mind be free, not attaching ourselves to it.
So I was thinking when you were talking, I was thinking about the sense doors, right? Like the what is it? The five senses, right? Eyes, ear, hearing, sight. I'm sorry, let me not do this crazy. Sight, sound, touch, taste. What am I missing?
Body sensation.
Smell,
Yeah.
and mental perception, right? 6 of them,
Mhm. Yes.
right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So like we were just talking about like a noise, but it could be anything, right? It could be something you see, something you hear, something you smell, right? And then it triggers that whole chain that you just break it down.
Yeah. Yeah. We can experience all that. The mind, especially the mind, man. That thing is. You know what? Speaking of the mind, because the mind, that's an interesting, because we just normalize that it's five senses, but the mind is a huge factor into what we experience every day, day to day, moment to moment. Things from the past comes up, or thoughts about the future, and these thoughts, they can really either help us or really hurt us. So it's one of those one of those senses that, it's the thing is, it's so difficult to just observe it as like the mind, because it's so complex, it's so warped. That's what it, like, there's so many things, like even the four parts of the mind, it keeps collapsing and colliding and arising, bumping into each other. Was that?
I'm sorry, I was just saying it's so fast, it's instantaneous, almost like that mind just boom. All of that happens in a fast, almost faster than we can perceive it.
Right. So it's the mind. I mean, it mirrors the body anyways. Like the sensation on the mind mirrors the sensation on the body. So that's why we do what we do, and we practice just with sensation. There's so many ways to say why sensation is just so important into connecting this Nama Rupa, into connecting to being present. Because I mean, you can just live in thoughts, you just live in the future, and some would say that's being present.
I guess, and this is a question kind of for both of you. Like, how is it that the mind is all like, okay? Because we talked about the senses, right? Because the five senses are on the body, right? That's pretty straightforward. How is the mind also a sense organ, right? Like, how is it that the mind is also able to cognize, I guess, for lack of a better term, the first of those four mental processes? How is the mind itself like a sense organ?
So just one quick comparison, right? Like, for example, if I'm sleeping, right, or if I'm just sitting there and I feel a mosquito biting me, I might just react to that without even thinking, right? Like, it's just a reaction. I'll try to swat it away, whatever, and this could happen while I'm sleeping. Suddenly, boom, my hand moves and I'm just like swatting this thing away, right? And this is where the body is reacting. I feel like there's no part of my mind that's actually awake or paying attention. It's just something that my body's used to doing, to feeling some sensation, protecting it, maybe some kind of survival instinct. And the mind would be more like, deciphering what's happening, right? Like the mind reacting is it's deciphering if this is good or bad, and then it should react I should react accordingly based on that information, right? Or my conditioned mind, like, oh, I never, if someone is trying to give me something to eat that I don't like, and I smell it, I'm like, oh, no, this is not something I like. I don't want to eat it. And that's just my conditioned mind, because that's what I'm used to or not used to. So I don't know if that made sense for the mind reacting, but that's for me more of a way of very distinct of body versus mind perception. And I mean, cognizing, perception, feeling, and then reacting. So,
like, I guess my question, based on what you said, is like could you react? Because we react based on stuff that comes through the senses. So it's like, are you saying that we react based on things that come through the mind, or are you saying like,
some, not everything. Like some of it is the body in survival mode. Like if I were to be drowning, my body would start trying to get air somehow. Like I might know how to swim, but I could tell you my arms probably be doing all kinds of things trying to get out of this water, right? And that's not my mind saying, oh, I got to get out of this. This is the body reacting in that moment because it's not getting air or it's in danger. So, I mean, it could be both at that time. But physically, we react all the time in terms of, I want to say this, more of this survival instinct, like, fight or flight kind of thing. And then the mind can be calm about it. Like, maybe there is this moment of you hear a big bang and you think it's maybe something dangerous happening and you could be alert suddenly. But that's your body reacting to this sound before you even can cognize what this means, right? You're just like ready to run, let's say. And then once you cognize, you might be like, oh, nobody else is running, or everybody else is running. I don't know what's happening, but I better run too, right? And then that's when you kind of perceive that this is dangerous, or, I'm in danger or I'm not in danger. So, I mean, that's how I would explain that. I don't know if that made sense.
Sorry, just a little off topic. You ever see that Cedric the Entertainer stand up where he's like, I think it's Cedric, I can't remember who, but he's like, let one of y'all get up and start running right now. I bet you everybody in the room starts right? Let's go.
Yeah, they do it like in the middle of the street. Suddenly they see somebody running and looking behind them, and then suddenly everybody's looking over there and like, whatever, y'all must start running too. So,
right.
Yeah, it's true.
If you ever been in New York, that's kind of like the energy. Like you see someone like, hey, I'm not standing here waiting to find out.
Yeah,
Right.
You're alert. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, definitely. The mind and body. I mean, this is conditioned, right? Like we think there's a fear. I mean, we think there's something happening that's bad. We don't know, but we're not going to take a risk. And we're just going to, let's say, run. And someone's like herd mentality, like, yeah. It's like an instinctual, natural thing more than thinking involved, I feel like. Because it didn't make sense. You don't know what's happening. You just literally, oh, everyone's running. I'm going to run too. Because I see some danger, but you don't know. Like your mind doesn't know. It's just reacting. Like,
so,
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I'm just time check. It's like 11 on your time, 11:16 now. So, yeah, I'm not sure if you're trying to continue this a little bit more. I got probably like another 10-15 minutes, but yeah, we can. However you guys want to do this.
Yeah,
I think we went in.
What was that?
No, I think we pretty much went into Nama Rupa, and of course, there's always more we could talk about it. But the gist for sure is, how we perceive things, which is what we kind of understood in the Satipatthana course, right? Like the sense doors, how the mind works, and how it perceives reality. And in the end, it's the conditioned mind and also the unconditioned mind, I guess. But it's something that we start understanding better as we practice meditation or mindfulness in the sense. And I think that's really the gist of this mind and body. And by being in the state of awareness, when we meditate, we can observe this body and mind and these interactions in a different way or more clearer way. and it's funny. Like, it's like, okay, I didn't know that this is what my mind's doing all the time, and now that it can't do this because I'm so aware or concentrated, now I can see it like hanging out in the back seat kind of thing. But anyways, yeah, that was definitely my 2 cents overall for this topic. And
so yeah, I mean, like, if we were just to summarize, we would say we talked about, like, you know, how thinking is actually a process, right? We went through the 4, which I thought was really poignant. You know, Heng kind of spoke of the 4 ways in which the mind goes, processes: perception, cognition, perception, recognition, reaction, right? We spoke on just how this world is kind of a mind-body connection. The mind is connected to the body reacts based on the mind reacts based on the body. That interplay, the interconnectedness of the two. But like, what else did we talk about? Like, if we were to sum it up for the people, like, am I missing anything?
pretty much that the current reality, our mind and body matter, and we use it to understand the ultimate truth. We use the mind and body to understand the conventional and the ultimate truth. And yeah, I think that's really the gist of mind and body, like understanding those two more and being okay with them and not going too extreme and just be like, oh, this doesn't matter, it's just atoms, like whatever happens to me is not that big of a deal. And then maybe that's not that good, you know, because we need this mind and body to practice or to support other people, whatever you want to call it, right? So yeah,
and to piggyback off what you said, Trung, the ultimate, going from the mundane or the conventional to the ultimate reality, the process of what we're doing also is going from that mundane, that gross level to the subtler level. So it's the breath is a good gateway because it can be conscious or unconscious, and a lot of times the ultimate level, the ultimate reality, we're not conscious of it, we're unconscious of it. So that's also another gateway of how we're going deeper and deeper and experiencing things at a more subtler level, so we can experience it and live it and be liberated.
To be liberated, moment to moment. Sure. All right. Well, I want to thank you guys again for coming out, man. It's always great talking to you guys, Trung and Heng, and it's always good to see you guys at the table, you know. For sure. Yeah,
that can also change.
For sure. And to our audience, thank you for tuning in. This was episode 4, The Mind and Matter, the Nama Rupa. And again, all of our links in the bio, in the description. We'll get that fleshed out for you guys. So yeah, thanks for tuning in. I'm Lloyd.
I'm Trung.
Heng, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Until next time, guys.
Until next time. May be happy.
Be happy.